thank you so much for joining us for this last session. And it's me. Okay, so next slide. I am again Dr. Holly Lucille. I am a licensed naturopathic doctor and senior medical advisor here at Fullscript. And this is one of my favorite topics. It really is mitochondrial health. And I promise we're going to go beyond the biochemistry and get into like hey, so what? What impacts the whole person sitting in front of you in your practice every single day? And my goal to wrap this up is to give you both the science and the systems. So by the end of this short session, we've got just 3 of them. I hope you not only understand the key drivers of mitochondrial health, but also walk away knowing exactly how to streamline your own clinical process using the tools that we have available for you here at Fullscript. So next slide. Again, I love our housekeeping because it just makes things easier. You can submit questions in the chat. If we're not going to get to them, we will get to them later. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be sent to everybody that registered. Also, the slides or the webinar recordings will be at fullscript.com / I can't remember which one, webinars in a couple of days. And a copy of the presentation and the slides are available for download. So you can just do that right now and then take some notes. Again, next slide. This presentation is just for education of us providers. It's not meant to be for any medical advice for the general public. I think what I'm sharing for you is designed to help you make more informed, evidence-based decisions in your patient care and adapt them to the unique needs of everybody that you see. Because as we all know, protocols are a starting point, not a one-size-fits-all solution, but at least we have these building blocks, which that's what makes me so excited. All right, next slide. So here's what we're going to cover. First, a whole person care approach. I think you're going to be hearing more and more and more and more and more about whole person care. It's an up and coming not trending. I think it's here to stay. I think system of medicine, to be honest with you, right? This one, we're going to be focusing on supporting mitochondrial health. And then we'll get into practical how to efficiently find, apply, and customize the mitochondrial stress support protocol template inside Fullscript. And finally, we'll talk about how to translate all of that into better patient outcomes, which is really why we're all here. All right, next slide. So let's kick it off with a quick poll. I love this. So when you're thinking about supporting mitochondrial health, what's the hardest part for you? Like, is it identifying safe, effective, and evidence-based ingredients, choosing labs, knowing which lifestyle strategies can move the needle, or is it creating a personalized plan quickly? And there are no wrong answers here. And you can go ahead and just select your answer on the screen. You don't have to type anything into the chat, and I'll just take a couple seconds and then we'll, for my edification, understand what your poll questions are. So go ahead and do it. All right. I love this platform because 31% of you said identifying safe evidence-based ingredients to recommend, 36 relevant lab testing, 11% knowing which lifestyle strategies are effective, creating a personalized plan quickly for 22%, and then none of the above. We did not have anybody. So I think we are all incredible. Thank you so much for doing that. And we're on the same page. So next slide. So whole person care. You've heard from our 2 excellent guests prior to me. I think mitochondria, I mean, we can remember all of the analogies that were said to us when we were in even I think middle school or high school, or senior science biology of the powerhouse of the cells, but I think they're the powerhouse of our patients. When they're working really well, I do see vitality, resilience. I see things trending towards healthy aging and longevity. But when they're under stress, the things that I start to see, fatigue and brain fog, inflammation, and kind of just a faster decline in overall function. So, it's been interesting that I talked to Dr. Douglas the last time, and there are these overlapping things that can happen from a clinical condition perspective, right? So whole person care, I think, means that we don't just target the mitochondria in isolation, right? When we're thinking about the Nutri-Eval and all of the different biomarkers, do we fix this? Do we fix that? Do we fix that? But we look at nutrition, we look at movement, we look at mental health. environmental exposures, the entire terrain that surrounds and influences mitochondrial function. I actually had a patient a few years ago. She's a 42-year-old woman. This just kind of came into my mind. She's working and she told me she just kind of like felt like she was running on fumes, but everything was like, okay. Her labs were quote unquote normal. But then when we got deeper into looking at mitochondrial systems, I think she was basically on empty, low magnesium, borderline B vitamins, sky high stress. And then once we sort of layered in this nutrition and stress reduction and targeted mitochondrial nutrients, honestly, she was like, it feels like the lights came back on. So that is what makes me so happy about doing what we are all doing. We want outcomes like that. So this is what this is all about. All right. So before I go on, next poll question, just how familiar are you with Fullscript protocol templates? So be brave here. If you've never used them, it's absolutely fine. If you dabble sometimes, it's absolutely fine too, but just go ahead and let me know either 1, 2, or 3, and then we'll review our results together. Take a look at it and let me know. Are you an expert? Okay. Beginner. I love this because I hope that I can sort of transpose you into this expert. And then beginner is 81% and intermediate sometimes. I think they're incredible. So I'm just so happy that you're here. Okay, so let's move on then. So obviously we've got, lab testing that we talked about earlier today. And when we think about mitochondria, it evaluates markers of oxidative stress, inflammation, micronutrient status, all of which influence that mitochondrial integrity and performance. And I think identifying areas of imbalance can provide insight into the underlying causes of what's, being dysfunctional, and also guide targeted, customized interventions. One of the most empowering things that I think we can do for our patients is test, assess, and address, not guess. I do think I need to give Dr. Naisha Winters that whole thing. That's where I stole it from. But test, not guess, especially when we talked about there's so many overlapping clinical conditions that people will present with just kind of fatigue or like I'm running on fumes, but my labs are fine and my doctor, quote unquote, says everything is fine. So a comprehensive nutritional assessment gives us more of that bigger picture. And are there deficiencies in micronutrients that the mitochondria absolutely depend on? We think about taking a nutrition class. I would say it's somewhat mirrors taking a biochemistry class. Obviously CoQ10, those B vitamins, magnesium, amino acids. And then organic acid testing, I think it's like looking under the hood at how well those nutrients are actually being used or absorbed for energy production. Also antioxidant defense and detox pathways. And then there's the F2 isoprostane creatinine ratio. And this is a gold standard marker for oxidative stress. And if the mitochondria are taking hits from free radicals, we want to see it early and address it because that's going to make a huge difference. So next slide. So then laboratory testing, obviously, I think don't guess, just test, especially when you're like, everything's fine, but not clinically, right? So then from a supplement perspective, when it comes to supplementation, I always remind myself and other providers, this is where evidence, I think, meets the art of personalization. We have, yes, strong data on nutrients like CoQ10, PQQ, alpha-lipoic acid, acetyl L-carnitine, but it's really in the patient context that matters, right? Is this someone recovering from long-term oxidative stress? What is their story? Is it an athlete? Both of our guests before mentioned athletes because we can drive a lot of free radicals. And I say we because I still consider myself one, a 60-year-old one, but still an athlete. And are we looking to optimize endurance? Or is it a patient with a chronic sort of fatigue issue who needs a gentler ramp up? Another story I remember, I had a retired firefighter, right? So chronic fatigue and muscle weakness, post-viral illness. So all of those little points in his story were very important. And we did start on a mitochondrial friendly diet and CoQ10 at 200 milligrams. And then just 3 months later, and we did do some testing, of course, I think, he was so surprised. It's just like with that little adjustment, he was hiking with his grandkids. And sometimes it's just really the targeted evidence basics that makes the biggest difference when we're talking about this topic. And then next slide. So, of course, there's also glutathione that we talked quite a bit about in the last two. And again, if you missed them, you can always go to the educational sessions and download these webinars. And of course, magnesium, super important. And if you think about the number one deficient mineral in the United States these days, it is magnesium. And also, Dr. Chapman mentioned the ketogenic diet. If anybody is leaning in a nutritionally dense ketogenic diet, we are going to lose magnesium pretty quickly from some of those foods that are being avoided. And so this is very important to consider too. So those mitochondrial ingredients are very important to understand, know about, and also know if there are deficiencies that have accumulated. Next slide. So dietary recommendations. Obviously, we're looking at a whole person care, right? So testing, supplementation. I'm a kind of fork first gal. I think if we could bottle one mitochondrial diet, if I could put it that way, in every person's kitchen, I think it would look a lot like the Mediterranean pattern diet, or we could maybe just encourage everybody to move to Greece. I mean, those colorful, like whole plant foods, healthy fats, extra virgin olive oil, moderate clean protein, and then also time restricted eating and intermittent fasting. Definitely compelling data for mitochondrial biogenesis and autophagy. I mean, I kind of think of it like spring cleaning for our cells, making sort of room for new efficient mitochondria to thrive. And one of the things that I think is so fascinating about intermittent fasting is that it doesn't just burn fat, it upregulates PGC1 alpha, which is a master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. So your body literally is making new, better functioning mitochondria in response. So think of it as like upgrading your cellular battery pack. That's how I put it to my patients. Next slide. So then also lifestyle recommendations. It's so important. Movement, like especially zone 2 aerobic training and resistance training, it sends direct signals to make more and better functioning mitochondria. Obviously, stress reduction, so important. Restorative sleep. I know it's easier said than done. Like it's great when I say it really fast, but I think we could take each of these components and probably have a 4-hour webinar on them. Healthy relationships overall very much matter. And even breath work can shift mitochondrial function by influencing oxygen utilization and that autonomic tone. So one of my patients, a former triathlete, okay, got sidelined by completely taking herself out of the game because of burnout. She lost the game. We started incorporating 2 30-minute zone 2 rides a week, plus just gentle breath work. It's like, and these high powered athletes, right? It's hard to get them to do little, but with a lot of education, which, should be our specialty, dossier, doctor, or just means to teach. But honestly, with her adherence within 6 weeks, not only was her energy up, but her HRV improved by 20%. And then I just feel like sometimes the right movement and stress reset is more powerful than any pill. So all of these things in whole person care mean a whole lot. All right, next slide. So, here's where we're going to get into it. To support all of these strategies that we've discussed today, we have created patient-friendly handouts. The handout is attached to the protocol template, but you can also find it in the resources section of your account. So this is where we're going to bring it all together. You've got the clinical insight, and now you can plug it into a system that saves you time. And inside the Fullscript protocol template library, I want you to search for mitochondrial stress support, and you can filter, preview. We're going to go through this all, review the evidence, and then customize it. So next slide. We've reviewed everything. So I encourage you right now, if you can, just log into your account so you can kind of follow along with me step by step, because I think once you go through it, and 81% of you said you were beginners. So if you go through it once, it is going to be seamless for you the next time that you're actually working with somebody. All right, next slide. So once you've logged in, you'll land on your homepage. And then to access the templates, navigate to the left-hand menu bar and click on My Tools in the US or Catalog in Canada. And then a drop-down menu will appear and just select templates from this list. Okay, super simple. And then next slide. And then inside that template library, you can use the search bar to find anything just by entering keywords. And then you'll also have filter options such as sorting by the owner, because you can make your own, whether it's Fullscript created or you have built it. And then if you look for Fullscript's latest protocols, simply scroll down to the bottom of the page and let's navigate through the whole person care mitochondrial support protocol. Next slide. So clicking on a template takes you to the preview page where you'll find a list of lab tests included in the protocol, along with corresponding products for the ingredients discussed earlier and all available patient resources, right? So you've got the evidence and you've got your patient resources right there. Next slide. Then you can switch to the evidence tab to explore all the ingredients and lifestyle recommendations included in the protocol. So you'll find recommended dosing and supporting research for each ingredient and lifestyle recommendation there. And then this is just a condensed overview. So viewing it in your account will provide additional details. So I hope you're there. And let's move forward now to start building your own customized plan. So next slide. So when you click Build Plan, you'll enter the planning writing tool where you will customize the protocol template. Again, I think protocols are incredible foundations, but you know your patients best. You know their biomarkers best. You know their stories best. So at the top, you'll see a list of lab tests that you can keep or remove if you are suspecting that this is, okay, we've ruled out adrenal, we've ruled out thyroid, or maybe there's some in play, but what is at the root cause? Where can we actually start downstream in order to kind of gusher things upstream? And below that, you'll find the products featured in the template, and you'll have full control here. You can remove products, you can adjust the dosages, and also your notes, or even introduce new products that weren't originally included. And then at the bottom, you'll find patient resources such as handouts, and you can choose which ones to include, and you can remove any that aren't relevant, or you can upload your own resources that you have. I think that this is incredible because the flexibility allows you to tailor the plan to your own patient's unique need while reinforcing health literacy and also behavioral change, all part of great patient outcomes. All right, next slide. And then once the plan is finalized, super easy, your patient will receive a notification. And then if they have the Fullscript mobile app, the plan will be accessible directly on their device. And then from there, they can select the products they'd like to purchase and add them to their My Currently Taking section. And of course, this can act as a supplement tracker for both of us, the patient and the provider. And then also encouraging auto refill for the time period that you are actually recommending certain supplements, because that is great adherence and they never run out, they stay on track. And then this feature, along with the dosing reminders, can help that adherence for long term. Okay, and with that, we have completed our walkthrough. So next slide. So, honestly, in the last 90 minutes, if you take anything from here, mitochondria thrive when whole person thrives, right? And whole person care is, in my opinion, where it's at. And when you align your recommendations with their story, their biology, their biography, their biology, their lifestyle, and their environment, they're not just supporting energy production, right? We're supporting a longer health span, not just biological aging. We're looking at just chronological aging and a better quality of life. So I think the bottom line is you don't have to be mitochondrial doctors, right? Just you can make an impact when you understand if there's nutrients to replete, right? And then also movement, mindset. They all feed into this incredible mitochondrial health that's so desperately important. And when your patients get their energy back, everything else in their life, that gets better too. So with that, I think I'm going to take some questions. All right. let me see. Going back to my question page. So would it be advisable to include Dutch Plus testing in addition to the nutrition and oat assessment? That's interesting. So from what I know, I mean, the Dutch testing, obviously you have that really nice steroidogenic pathway, and then also estrogen metabolism. You get that adrenal aspect, and as well, you do get a limited amount of oat testing. So I think the testing that was introduced earlier today probably is going to cover a lot of that, and it might be a jumping off point for a Dutch test if that's needed, depending on what your particular patient is going through. Are there limitations to use the protocol as a licensed dietitian versus physician? Absolutely not. No. Let me see. If you missed it, you are sorry, but is the template purchased for each patient, i.e. protocol per patient, or actually the protocol and everything on the template is actually just free. It's on your account, and it's just a resource that we have for providers and for patients. You can go over it again. You can just you can move the template, and you can actually build your own sort of protocol for that person. And again, this is what I want to really remind you of, is like, if you missed that as we went through it, just go ahead and watch that last part of this webinar, because it'll just be how exactly you can get to those templates and build them and customize for your patient. And then please comment on occasional 5-day or 7-day water fast. Okay, sure, I'm going to comment, but again, you know your patient's biography, biology, and everything else. I think that it all really depends. I think that it's probably one of the funnest, most healthiest things people can do is take a break from food and have either a dry fast or a water fast. Let's just say water fast, because you're asking about it. My comments about it personally and professionally is that I do feel that people need to be in space to do it. Are we going to dump a lot that phase 1 and phase 2 especially are not going to be able to handle, right? Will they be dumping toxins and fats? And if we haven't supported phase 2, I think phase 1, I kind of feel like, oh, that's you taking all the garbage, setting outside, and phase 2 is like the garbage people taking it away. And if you've ever been in New York City during a strike, you can see that the garbage just piles up on the sidewalks. That could happen. Also, from an adrenal perspective, right? Our brains need glucose to work. Yeah, we have gluconeogenesis. Your liver can kick out glycogen if the adrenals will stress and tell the brain, hey, you need to do that. Are the adrenals at a place where they can do that? So I think fasting is super healthy and lovely, and it can do a little bit of reset and autophagy for a lot of things, but not for everybody. And I think you just need to assess that clinical safety when it comes to an intervention. That's that. Okay. And I think with that, that is our time. And I just want to thank you all so much. Next slide. If you're looking for more information, again, you have joined this particular series on supporting, all of our mitochondria through the lab testing, evidence-based supplements, and then the protocol support that we have here on Fullscript. A quick reminder, all of the recordings are going to be available for anybody who registered on fullscript.com/webinars. And I hope you found this discussion. I know we went through things in rapid fire fashion, but lots of great information. And if you need to review it, please do. But this is all about having great, healthy outcomes in a whole person care perspective for our patients. All right. Thank you so much.